The evening before I was scheduled to marry the man I loved, I experienced a dream so intense it felt completely real. My grandmother, who had died 3 years earlier, stood in the kitchen of the house where I grew up, wearing the identical blue sweater she had been buried in. Her face showed pure fear. She took hold of my hands and spoke only one sentence. "Call off your wedding, wake up before the sun rises, go to his mother's house, you'll understand everything." Then she vanished. I woke trembling at precisely 4:12 a.m. I nearly dismissed it as grief or pre-wedding nerves. Yet something inside me refused to let it go. 30 minutes later, I was driving through deserted streets toward my future mother-in-law's house. I believed I was simply following a strange dream. I had no idea I was about to uncover a secret that would reshape every part of my future forever. And before we continue, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel. I'm also curious, where are you watching from and what time is it there right now? Let me know in the comments below. Now let's return to the story. My name is Emily Carter. I am 28 years old, and when this occurred I believed I was living the happiest chapter of my life. In fewer than 8 hours I was supposed to marry Daniel Brooks, the man everyone insisted was perfect for me. We had been together for 4 years. He was thoughtful, successful, and somehow managed to charm every person he met. My parents adored him. My friends envied me. Even my grandmother, before she passed, used to smile whenever he visited. Or at least I thought she did. After waking from that impossible dream, I sat on the edge of my bed staring at my engagement ring. My heart refused to settle. It wasn't exactly fear. It was a quiet certainty that if I ignored Grandma's warning, I would regret it for the rest of my life. I tried to convince myself it was only pre-wedding anxiety. The florist was arriving in 3 hours. The makeup artist would be there at 7. By noon, I would be walking down the aisle. Everything had been planned for nearly a year. So why couldn't I shake the feeling that someone was desperately trying to stop me? Without switching on the lights, I got dressed, grabbed my keys, and slipped out before anyone in the house woke up. The streets were empty as dawn slowly painted the sky gray. 40 minutes later, I turned onto the quiet road leading to Daniel's mother's house. Then I hit the brakes. A black SUV was already parked in the driveway. Daniel had told me he was spending the night at his best man's apartment. So why was his car sitting outside his mother's house before sunrise? For almost a full minute, I stayed inside my car, staring at Daniel's SUV. Maybe there was a perfectly reasonable explanation. Maybe his best man lived nearby. Maybe he had stopped to pick something up before the wedding. I wanted to believe any excuse my mind could invent. Finally, I climbed out and walked toward the front porch. The morning air was cold enough to raise goosebumps on my arms. When I reached the front door, I noticed it wasn't completely closed. It rested against the frame, open just an inch. Daniel's mother was always careful about locking everything. That tiny detail made my stomach tighten. I gently pushed the door open. "Hello," I whispered, no answer. The house was strangely quiet except for muffled voices drifting from the kitchen. I recognized Daniel's laugh immediately. Relief washed over me. For one brief second, I actually smiled. Then I heard his mother speak. "Are you absolutely sure this is the right thing to do?" Daniel answered without hesitation. "It's too late to turn back now." I froze. His voice didn't sound nervous. It sounded confident. His mother lowered her voice, but I could still hear every word. "I just don't want this to become messy." "It won't," Daniel replied calmly. "Emily trusts me completely. She won't question anything until everything's legally connected." My heartbeat pounded so loudly I thought they would hear it. His mother sighed. "I still feel guilty." "You shouldn't," Daniel said. "After the wedding, we'll slowly combine everything. The house, the accounts, it'll all happen naturally." I couldn't breathe. They weren't talking about wedding decorations. They were talking about me. Then his mother whispered one sentence that made every piece of Grandma's warning begin to make sense. "I only hope she never discovers why you really chose her." I pressed myself against the hallway wall, terrified that even my breathing would give me away. Daniel spoke again, calm and almost amused. "After we're married, everything becomes much easier." His mother didn't answer immediately. When she finally did, her voice was barely above a whisper. "Emily's grandmother left her that lake house, didn't she?" "Yes," Daniel replied, "and eventually we'll renovate it and sell it. Between that and combining our savings, we'll finally be out of debt." My knees nearly gave out of debt. His mother sighed. I hate that you're using such a good girl. I'm not using her, Daniel answered. I'm making a practical decision. Love doesn't pay bills. Every word landed harder than the last. He continued. I'll be the perfect husband for a few years. Once everything is legally shared and our finances are settled, we'll decide what comes next. His mother sounded uneasy. And if she finds out? She won't. The confidence in his voice hurt more than the betrayal itself. He believed I trusted him so completely that I would never question anything. Almost without thinking, I pulled out my phone. My hands trembled so badly I nearly dropped it. I opened the voice recorder and captured every second of the conversation. Every lie, every plan. Every cold calculation. I had come looking for an explanation. Instead, I found proof. When their voices moved farther into the kitchen, I quietly backed toward the front door. It clicked softly behind me. Only after I reached my car did I let myself cry. Not loud, not dramatically, just silent tears that blurred the windshield. As the first rays of sunlight rose over the neighborhood, one thing became painfully clear. I wasn't driving away to decide whether to cancel my wedding anymore. I was driving home to decide exactly how I was going to do it. By the time I pulled back into my parents' driveway, the sky had turned pale gold. I sat in my car for a moment, wiped my face with the sleeve of my sweater, and made myself a promise. Daniel would not get the satisfaction of watching me fall apart. I walked into the house smiling. My mother was already in the kitchen arranging pastries for the bridal party. There she is, she said. I was starting to worry. I forced a laugh. Just needed some air before the chaos started. The makeup artist arrived 20 minutes later, then the hairstylist. Then my bridesmaids, carrying coffee cups and garment bags and enough excitement to fill the entire house. Everyone kept saying the same thing. You must be so nervous. If only they knew. My phone buzzed. Daniel, good morning, future wife. Can't wait to marry you today. I stared at the message until the words blurred, then I typed back. Me too. See you at the ceremony. The lie came easier than I expected. While my bridesmaids debated lipstick shades, I slipped into the hallway and called the only person I trusted completely. My grandmother's longtime attorney, Mr. Whitmore. He answered on the second ring. Emily, everything okay? No, I whispered. I need you to help me protect my assets immediately. His tone changed instantly. What happened? I'll explain everything later. Right now, I just need to make sure nothing gets signed, transferred, or combined today. Understood, he said. Consider it handled. I ended the call and looked at my reflection in the hallway mirror. Everyone thought I was getting ready to walk down the aisle. But I already knew one thing with absolute certainty. That wedding was never going to happen. By noon, every seat inside the garden venue was filled. Soft music drifted through the air as guests smiled, laughed, and admired the flowers. No one had the slightest idea that the wedding they had come to celebrate was already over. When the doors opened, everyone stood. I walked down the aisle exactly as we had rehearsed. Daniel smiled at me. It was the same smile I'd fallen in love with 4 years earlier. Now all I could see was someone performing a role. The officiant welcomed everyone before beginning the ceremony. Everything felt strangely peaceful, almost unreal. Then came the moment. If anyone has reason these two should not enter into marriage, speak now. I slowly raised my hand. I do. The entire garden fell silent. Daniel laughed nervously. Emily, what are you doing? I looked at him, then at every person who had gathered to celebrate us. I'm simply making sure everyone knows the truth before anyone signs anything. I took my phone from my bouquet and connected it to the venue's speaker. Daniel's smile disappeared. The recording began. His own voice echoed through the garden. Emily trusts me completely. Then another sentence. We'll combine everything after the wedding. His mother's voice followed. I only hope she never discovers why you really chose her. Gasps spread through the crowd. Daniel rushed toward me. Turn that off. You're taking everything out of context. I calmly stepped back. Then explain it. He opened his mouth. Nothing came out. His mother buried her face in her hands. I looked at the guests one last time. I deserve a marriage built on honesty, not a financial plan. I handed the microphone back to the stunned officiant, turned around, and walked away without looking back. Halfway to the exit, someone behind me called my name. It was the last person I ever expected to hear from that day. I had almost reached the parking lot when I heard my name again. Emily, wait! I turned and saw Mrs. Alina Hayes, my grandmother's closest friend for nearly 40 years. She walked toward me with tears in her eyes and gently took my hands. "I've been praying you'd make the right choice," she whispered. I stared at her, confused. "What do you mean?" She reached into her purse and carefully unfolded a small envelope. "Your grandmother gave this to me 2 years before she passed away. She told me to keep it unless the day ever came when you needed a reminder to trust yourself." My hands shook as I opened it. Inside was a single handwritten note. "Emily, if someone ever asks you to ignore your instincts just to keep the peace, choose your instincts. A loving heart should never require you to silence your own." The tears I'd been holding back finally escaped. Suddenly my dream didn't feel like magic. It felt like years of Grandma's wisdom guiding me when I needed it most. Mrs. Hayes smiled through her own tears. "Walking away wasn't losing your future, sweetheart." She squeezed my hand gently. "It was protecting the life your grandmother always hoped you'd have." 6 months later, I drove back to my grandmother's lake house for the first time since the wedding that never happened. Instead of selling it, I restored it. Every room reminded me that the strongest foundations are built with honesty, not appearances. Daniel tried reaching out more than once. I never replied. Some doors are meant to stay closed. Today my life looks completely different from the one I thought I wanted. I learned that love isn't proven by grand promises or perfect photographs. It's proven by trust when no one is watching. Sometimes people ask if I regret walking away on my wedding day. I always smile, because I didn't lose the future I dreamed about. I escaped the future I never deserved. And sometimes the greatest wedding gift is the ring you receive. It's the truth that saves you before you ever say, "I do."